Democratic Party. Here at the Democratic Party, we believe for opportunity for all, equality on all fronts, opportunity to education, free rights when it comes to gay marriage for all immigrants. That's why we are the party of immigrants. America was founded on the basis of immigration, and we strongly support anything that has to do with opportunity and stuff like that. That's why I'm proud to say that I'm a transgender person. I'm not afraid to say that I'm a member of the Democratic Party. Welcome to our party, a party for future, for hope, for all people.
Now listen up. I'm part of the Republican Party, and the government ain't taking my guns, that's for sure. I'm telling you what, we're here and we don't want government in our business. None of it. We want less government. We want a regulation to a minimum. I want the government to be out of my business. I'm for God. I don't want my government involved in my life. I want to be free to make my decisions. I don't want the government telling me I need to pay this tax for my land. I need to all these programs are just useless. My work is mine. The government ain't taking my money.
What's wrong?
Nobody wants to be a part of my party. Everybody says like, oh, we're a part of it. 43% of people, but like only like 10 to 15% actually vote for me. I have important issues to talk about, but they just want to absorb me into the other parties and they all suck. Like, I don't want to be a part of them. Like, pay attention to me. Like, I have an issue for you to pay attention to.
I wonder why that is.
Why is that?
Well, actually, as the parties derived from the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists, and as tensions continue to grow between the two parties, including like the Whiskey Revolution and stuff, Thomas Jefferson formed the Democratic Republican Party, and this mainly consisted of farmers, artisans, and immigrants. And they wished for minimal government intervention, but they're kind of hypocritical because they believed in democracy and how the Louisiana Purchase was the Empire of Liberty, but they still were for slavery. And so Hamilton, in spite of Jefferson, decided to make the Federalists an established party, and this consisted of businessmen, bankers, merchants, and they wanted a healthy republic. And so their tension climaxed at the Civil War, as the Democratic Republicans were always in the majority. And so the tensions grew throughout that, and then obviously the Union won over the Confederacy, so that would be the Federalists. And then also during Jackson's term in office, they took different names. The Federalists became the Republicans, and the Democratic Republicans became the Democrats. In the mid-20th century, the party's ideologies became a little bit more different, and the Republican Party, or the Federalists, became more conservative and more right-winged, as the Democrats, or the Democratic Republicans, became more liberal and more right-winged. And and they also became more like separated through ideology, so it's more extremes than there were like moderates. And then independent parties came up, and it was like throughout all of history, like gridlock within legislation was super popular because the ideologies were so different. And independent parties also became more popular, but they still don't have that much of an impact in the government, minimal to none. But to exemplify this, only 35 out of 7,500 state legislatures claim to be independent, and 43% of people identify as independent, but only 10 to 15% actually vote as independent. So it's there, but it doesn't have the mass presence that the Democrats and the Republicans. So going back into the major political parties, they have a large role in government, and some of the responsibilities consist of picking candidates, running campaigns, expressing their stances on policies, and advancing their party's agenda. And and also as time has gone on, party identification has become more and more important as close elections came up, and that also goes into like the electoral college, because generally an entire state will vote either Republican or a Democrat for the president. And so some of the organizational things within the political parties, you have your national committee, and they operate the party between the conventions. Then you have your national chairperson, and they will do the day-to-day workings. And then also going into Congress and Senate, whoever the majority leader is, they often have the most power. And in the South, the House, the majority leader will generally have not the most power, but a high amount of power. And so just a little overarching thing, there had been 4 party eras. And so the first one was from 1824 to 1860, and that was the first Democratic Party in around the Civil War. And then, from 1860 to 1932 was a Republican, and that ended because of the Great Depression. And then from 1932 to 1968 was the second Democratic era. And then from 1968 until now has been a divided government because of de-alignment. The society doesn't hold as strong as views on their parties anymore. So there hasn't been one party that has held all aspects of government as long as what they have in the past. And that was some history about the parties.
Hello. We at the intellectual minds of this group determine that political parties in the United States are good for democracy, but bad in general, especially the current two-party system that's currently been using.
We have some solutions.
We have solutions.
Well, the solutions are to give fair media coverage to third parties, eliminate the closed primary systems of electing officials, and to eliminate gerrymandering within districts and all together.
Oh, hello. Our first point is going to be talking about media coverage in the United States for third parties. So many people don't really realize, but media coverage for the actual two-party system has actually gone up, even though less and less people watch it. According to recent sources, the 2012 election between Mitt Romney and former President Barack Obama, actually spent a combined $76 million on online advertising alone, let alone the amount of media coverage that were covered by the top media sources in the entire country, none of which covered the third parties to the extent that they covered the top two.
Most Americans don't vote for third parties because they believe it's a wasted vote. Third parties simply don't have enough money or voice to get heard, so Americans just don't vote for them because it's a wasted vote.
Closed primaries are a major obstacle for third parties. They can't even get into the ballot or onto the debates because they don't have enough money. If closed primaries were eliminated, then they'd have a greater voice because of the more fair media coverage, and they'd be on the ballot. So people would know that these people are qualified officials who know what they're talking about and could represent them more than the other parties could.
Even though people think that an open ballot system would actually cost a ton of money, in reality, campaigns for all political adversaries have gotten much more expensive, especially in recent years. So if we were to lower the amount of money that was being spent on the two-party system, we'd actually have tons of money to be able to spend on a more multi-party.
Gerrymandering favors the two-party system. There are many strategies in which these districts are drawn, but basically it's a drawing of borders for congressmen, and they represent these areas. And these groups are most likely always going to keep re-electing the same person.
Gerrymandering is a huge problem in the United States. It's actually been the serious issue of several different campaigns. For instance, renowned actor and former governor of California, Arnold Schwarzenegger, has already taken up a campaign against this with the slogan, "Terminate Gerrymandering." This is because different legislators in different states use different forms of gerrymandering, which is why it's almost impossible to pinpoint and make illegal. If we were to keep gerrymandering in the United States voting system, more and more competitive actions will take place in the voting system in the United States. That is why it needs to be rid of.
In conclusion, we need to change gerrymandering, the closed ballots, and the mass media coverage in the United States.
Once we change all three of these things, the United States will have a much better voting system in general at all levels of federalism. For instance, this will open up the door for several other different kinds of parties. For instance, the Libertarian Party, the Tea Party, even the Socialist Party. But
And the best party!